Welcome back, everyone, to TRP Podcasts for another deep dive.
It's great to be here.
Today, we're exploring a pretty fascinating idea.
Yeah.
And that's this whole connection between wealth, happiness, and freedom.
Oh, yeah. Big topics, right?
Definitely huge.
Things we all think about, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's easy to get caught up in just like everyday life and not really stop and think about what those things actually mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going through the motions.
Exactly. And one of the things that really stood out to me right away from all this is like challenging that whole idea of like, work hard and you'll get rich.
Yeah, that's like the classic American dream kind of mentality.
Totally. Yeah.
But what's interesting is the more I think about this, it seems like it's not just about effort. It's more about understanding.
Understanding what?
Like understanding the right skills.
Right.
The skills that really matter in whatever you're trying to do. And then like leveraging those in a really strategic way.
So it's more about working smart instead of just like purely working hard.
Exactly. It's like imagine you're trying to build a house.
Okay.
You could spend years hauling bricks back and forth, right?
Yeah, that sounds exhausting.
Or you could learn how to use a crane and get it done way faster.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's all about understanding how to use the tools and systems that can kind of multiply your efforts.
So instead of just like grinding it out all the time, it's about figuring out how to build like assets that actually work for you.
Precisely.
Okay.
That's where that whole concept of like making money while you sleep comes in.
Okay, I've heard that one.
Yeah, it's a popular one.
But what does it actually mean?
Well, it means not just trading your time for money directly, but building something that can generate income even when you're not actively working.
Okay, now that's the concept I can get behind.
Right, passive income.
But how do you actually do that?
Well, it's not magic, but it does require like a bit of a shift in thinking.
Okay.
Instead of just focusing on, earning a paycheck, you're thinking about building systems, investments, businesses, things that can generate income passively.
So it's kind of like planting a tree. Right. You put in the work up front, but then it keeps bearing fruit for years to come.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's about playing the long game, being patient, and understanding that like real wealth often comes from things that grow and compound over time.
This is making me think about all the time I spend like chasing after things that don't really matter in the long run.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like there's this like status game that distracts us from the real money game.
You've hit on another really important point right there.
Really?
The idea of a status game versus a money game is so insightful.
So I'm on the right track.
You are.
Yeah.
The status game is all about keeping up with appearances, right? It's the car, the clothes, the fancy titles.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. But that can be a real trap.
It's like trying to impress people you don't even like.
You're right.
But the money game is about building actual wealth and security, regardless of whether it looks flashy or not.
Precisely. It's about focusing on the substance, not just the image.
Wow, this is really making me question my own priorities. Am I chasing validation or building something real?
That's a question we should all ask ourselves regularly. It's easy to get caught up in the hype and lose sight of what truly matters.
So if we're trying to like step out of the status game and into the money game, where do we even begin?
Well, one of the most powerful tools at our disposal is the simple act of reading.
Reading.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, I love a good book,
Yeah.
but how does that translate into wealth and freedom?
It's all about knowledge, right? Reading exposes you to different ideas, strategies, perspectives.
Yeah. Okay.
It can help you identify those high-impact skills we were talking about earlier and figure out how to apply them in your own life.
So it's not just about escaping into a good story.
Yeah.
It's about using books as a way to learn and grow.
Exactly. And the more you read, the more you realize that the answers to most of our problems are out there, just waiting to be discovered.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of reading in a whole new light. But it's not enough to just passively consume information, right? How do we actually make this knowledge work for us?
That's where things get really interesting, because it's not just about absorbing information, it's about communicating it effectively, understanding human behavior, and yes, even mastering the art of persuasion.
Wait, persuasion? That word always makes me a little uneasy. It sounds kind of manipulative, like something a used car salesman would do.
I get it. The word definitely has a bit of a bad rap.
Yeah.
But think of it this way, even sharing a book recommendation with a friend is a form of persuasion, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
You're trying to convince them that the book is worth their time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Huh.
So persuasion isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It's about being able to communicate effectively and share your ideas in a way that resonates with others.
You got it. And that brings us to 3 seemingly unrelated but incredibly important skills. Sales math, and as we were just discussing, persuasion.
Whoa, that's quite a trio. What do those have to do with wealth and freedom? They feel more like, I don't know, business school material.
They might seem daunting at first, but believe me, they're essential life skills. Sales at its core is about understanding how to effectively communicate value and build relationships.
So it's not just about closing deals.
No.
It's about understanding what people need and how to connect with them.
Exactly. And math.
Yeah, math. That's scary.
Well, math is the language of logic and decision-making.
Okay.
It helps you analyze information spot patterns and make informed choices, whether you're managing your finances or making strategic decisions in any area of life.
So math isn't just about memorizing formulas. It's about developing like a critical thinking framework that can help you navigate the world more effectively.
You're getting it. And as we talked about, persuasion is the art of communicating your ideas in a way that resonates with others and inspires them to take action.
So it's not about tricking people.
No.
It's about being able to share your knowledge and insights in a way that's both compelling and authentic.
Right. It's about building trust and connecting with people on a deeper level. Think about it. Even the most brilliant ideas are useless if you can't communicate them effectively.
So mastering these skills, sales, math, and persuasion, can actually help us build wealth and freedom.
Yeah.
It's starting to see the connections here, but it's a lot to take in. Is there a way to simplify all of this?
Absolutely. It all boils down to making choices, often difficult choices, that prioritize long-term gains over short-term gratification. It's kind of like, think about it this way. We all love indulging in something tasty every now and then, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we also know that prioritizing healthy habits is ultimately going to benefit us more in the long run.
It's like choosing to go for a run instead of binge watching your favorite show.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's not always easy, but
Yeah.
it's about investing in your future self.
Exactly. It's about having that discipline and willpower to delay gratification and make choices that are really in line with those long-term goals.
Yeah.
Even if it means, sacrificing some immediate pleasure.
So it's like building that muscle of making tough choices.
Yeah.
Because those choices ultimately lead to greater freedom and fulfillment down the road.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of freedom, that brings us to another really crucial point. It's this idea of questioning authority and embracing the power of independent thinking.
Well, this is where it gets interesting.
Right.
So you mean we shouldn't just blindly accept what, so-called experts or even well-meaning adults tell us?
Exactly. It's about thinking critically and not just accepting things at face value because, no one has all the answers. And what might work for one person might not work for another.
So it's about taking ownership of our own lives and decisions.
Yes.
Not letting ourselves, be swayed by the crowd or pressured into following a path that just doesn't feel right for us.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that true freedom isn't just about doing whatever you want.
Okay.
It's about being free from the things that are actually controlling you.
Like what kinds of things?
It could be fear. It could be societal expectations, the constant pursuit of pleasure, or even that need for external validation.
So true freedom is about breaking free from those internal and external constraints.
Yes.
And making choices that align with our authentic self.
You nailed it. It's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our own destinies and create lives that are truly meaningful and fulfilling.
Wow. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Understanding over blind hard work, building assets that generate passive income, stepping out of the status game and into the money game, the power of continuous learning through reading, mastering the essential skills of sales, math, and persuasion, making tough choices for long-term gains, questioning assumptions, and ultimately pursuing true freedom.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot. It's a lot.
But it's also interconnected. It is. You've got it. It's a holistic approach to achieving wealth, happiness, and freedom. It's not about following a rigid set of rules, but it's about adopting a mindset that empowers you to make conscious choices that align with your goals and values.
I think what's really resonating most with me is this idea of freedom. It's not just about having financial security.
Yeah.
It's about having the freedom to live a life on your own terms.
Absolutely. Financial security is important, but it's a means to an end. True wealth encompasses much more than just money. It's about having the freedom to pursue your passions, spend time with loved ones, and make a positive impact on the world.
That's beautifully put. It's about creating a life that feels both fulfilling and aligned with your values.
And it all starts with taking ownership of your choices, recognizing the power you have to shape your own destiny.
I think that's an incredibly empowering message for our listeners today.
It's about understanding that true freedom isn't something that's given to you. It's something you create for yourself through conscious choices and deliberate actions.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about. It's like a blueprint for creating a life of purpose and intentionality.
Hmm.
What about you? What stands out to you as like the most impactful takeaway from this exploration?
That's a great question. For me, it's the emphasis on personal responsibility. It's easy to fall into that trap of like blaming external circumstances
Oh, yeah, for sure.
or feeling like we're victims of our environment.
Totally.
But this whole exploration really highlights the power we have to actually shape our own destinies.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that our choices, both big and small, have a profound impact on the trajectory of our lives.
Yeah, they really do.
It's about taking ownership of our thoughts, actions, and ultimately our freedom.
So true. It's about like empowering ourselves to create the lives we want rather than waiting for someone else to give it to us.
Exactly. It's about becoming the architects of our own destinies, and that's a truly empowering message.
I completely agree. So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive, it's time to turn it over to you for some final thoughts. What's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with today? What's that like seed you want to plant in their minds that will continue to grow and inspire them long after this conversation ends?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think if I could leave our listeners with one thing, it would be this. If you could design your life to achieve true freedom, freedom from limitations, anxieties, and external pressures, what would that look like? What choices would you make differently starting today?
Wow, that's a powerful question to sit with.
Mm-hmm.
It really challenges you to think about what you truly value and what kind of life you want to build.
It's not about having all the answers right now.
Right.
It's about starting to ask yourself the right questions and then being willing to take action based on what you discover.
So the process of self-discovery and then like aligning your actions with what you learn about yourself.
Exactly. It's about becoming more aware of your own thoughts and behaviors and then making conscious choices that move you closer to the life you envision.
I love that. It's not about waiting for permission or perfect circumstances. It's about taking ownership and making choices that reflect your own definition of freedom.
Because freedom isn't a destination. It's a journey. It's about constantly learning, growing, and evolving.
This whole conversation has been so inspiring. It's given me a new perspective on wealth, happiness, and freedom. It's not just about money or possessions.
No.
It's about creating a life that feels aligned with your values and purpose.
And it's something that's available to all of us, regardless of our circumstances.
That's such a hopeful message. I think it's easy to feel stuck or limited by our current situation. But this conversation reminds us that we always have the power to choose.
And even small choices can make a big difference over time.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. It's been an incredible journey.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has sparked some new ideas and inspired you to think differently about wealth, happiness, and freedom. Remember, you have the power to create the life you want. So start by asking yourself what true freedom means to you. And then take those first steps towards making it a reality.
Beautifully said.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep creating the life of your dreams.